بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Okay, so we've taken the two descriptions of God being Qadir, God being Mukhtar. We've spoken about that. Again, another reminder that what we're reading very quickly, right, is the Sifat Thubutiyya of God, the affirming positive attributes of God, what we affirm that God has. Because later on we're going to be talking about the negating Sifat al-Salbiyya, what we negate God from having, like a sharik, for example, right? So even though Ali went outside, you can still hear his whole conversation here. So God is Qadir, we've explained that. God is Mukhtar, we've explained that. Now we're on the topic of God is Alim. Now this ilm that God has, what kind of ilm is it? In the topic of ilm, and with, for example, when we talk about epistemology, we describe ilm as being of two types. One is something that you acquire and learn through, for example, your senses, through reading, through researching, through critical evaluation, and that is called al-ilm al-husuli, or acquired knowledge, right? But some kind of knowledge you don't need anyone to teach you about, because it's present in yourself, right? It's within the fabric of your human identity, like love, like hate, like hunger, right? And that is called al-ilm al-huduri. Right? Which means present, or some people say presential. Now, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say when it comes to His ilm, when it comes to His knowledge, His ilm is aynu dhati, it's the very essence of Himself, right? Even when it comes to the ma'sumin alayhim salam, who was the teacher of, for example, the ma'sum? Nobody, right? Their ilm was God-given. Their ilm was God-given. So acquired knowledge is when you learn something through reading, through studying, through evaluating. But presential knowledge, or al-ilm al-huduri, right, is you knowing that you are hungry. And it can never be false, it can never be batil, it can never be a lie. Your ilmuka bi ju'ika, for example, right? Even though you say, oh no, thank you, I'm full, verbally you say it, but deep inside, no, it cannot be true. The same thing when it comes to love or hate, these kind of situations, right? That is a part of you. It's not something that you've learnt. It's not something that you have learnt. Start reading, please, Nisar, and we'll understand where that is all coming from.
He said, second, the Most High is knowing, Alim.
So, the Sifa Thaniya, the second attribute, right? The second attribute is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, is knowing, is al-alim. Carry on.
For He performs actions which are firm and muhkama and perfect, al-Mutahhar. And everyone who does that is of necessity knowing.
So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all knowing, and to prove that, to demonstrate that, we can see that He has done all these af'al, all these things with ihkam and itqan. Ihkam, yani very solid, strong work, and itqan, perfection, perfect work as well, right? And anyone who does something that is muhkam and mutqan is by necessity a alim. Alimun bil-dharura, by necessity a all-knowing being. Right? Carry on.
Amongst his positive qualities are his being knowing, and the knowing one is he to whom all things are clear.
So we said positive qualities because we're talking about sifat al-thubutiyya. As-sifat al-thubutiyya. God is hay, God is alim, God is qadir, God is mukhtar. These are all sifat thubutiyya. Sorry? Mutabayyin. Carry on.
And the knowing one is he to whom all things are clear in such a way that what is present to him does not become absent.
Okay, so God is all knowing, and this knowing and Him being knowing is that He clearly sees absolutely everything, in all these things being present within Him. Hadir, hudur, bil-ilm al-huduri, hadir, right? Present to Him, and is never ghaib, is never absent, right? There's not like He doesn't, it's not that He knows one part of something and doesn't know the other part of something. Carry on.
And the firm and perfect act is that which includes matters strange and wonderful and unites many characteristics.
Okay, what does al-fi'l al-muhkam mean? Al-fi'l al-muhkam, which is something solid, something very good, something strong, for example, is that which includes many foreign, contradictory things that are brought together and made in such a cohesive, perfect way. You've got wood, you've got nails, you've got glue, you've got leather, right? Carpenter will put all of that together and make a perfect looking chair, right? So the carpenter is a alim of the chair, because he is doing something that is muhkam and mutqan, is that which includes matters strange, yani opposite to each other, right? And sometimes unusual, wonderful, sometimes unusual, sometimes wonderful, and unites all of them together. And unites all of them together. Now, here there are going to be two ways of how this can further be established. Carry on.
And there are two proofs. First, He is a free agent, and every free agent is knowing.
So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Mukhtar, right? Free agent, right next to it, Mukhtar. Free agent, right next to it, that God is Mukhtar. Carry on.
The minor premise that He is a free agent was explained previously. And as for the major premise, know that the act of a free agent follows his purpose, and to purpose a thing without having knowledge of it is impossible.
Okay, so let's explain this. What does this mean? In any syllogistic argument, right, you've got what we call a sughra, and you've got a kubra, and you've got a natija, right? Sughra, kubra, natija. This is called the minor premise. This is called the major premise, and this is called the natija, right? So in this first argument, it's saying that the minor premise is Allah is all free. Allah is Mukhtar, right? We've explained that before. Second premise is that God, who is a free agent, follows his purpose and follows his intention or his motive. And this, of course, is going to entail that because he is pursuing his motive, his purpose, this is going to entail by default that he knows what he is doing, that he knows his choice of choosing this way and not this way. And so, bil-darura, by necessity, the conclusion here will be that God is all-knowing. And to purpose a thing without having knowledge of it is going to be impossible. Yeah, and it's impossible for God to have ikhtiyar and to have qasd for choosing that ikhtiyar, but not have ilm. Number 2.
Second, he performs firm and perfect acts, and everyone who does the like is knowing of necessity.
Yeah, by necessity, someone who is going to do something with perfection and going to do something with that level of firmness, by necessity, they're going to be alim as well. They're going to be knowing as well. Carry on.
Now that he performs such acts is manifest to whoever considers his creation.
Yeah, so this is going to manifest, this is going to reveal itself to the rest of creation. That's why we have this argument called Burhan al-Nazm, the argument for design, or the argument for nature, or the argument for perfection, the argument for perfection. Why? Because you look at the solar system and you say, this is a perfect system. Everything is done with precision, with perfection. It has to have come about by an all-knowing entity, right? That's why Burhan al-Nazm, or the argument for design, or the argument for perfection, is a very strong argument to prove the existence of God.